If you are a Democrat, you should be very, very happy. And it's odd saying that because this video is about the stolen valor attacks on Tim Walz. But you should be happy that this is what they got. This is where they've gone to try to diminish the momentum of the Harris-Walz campaign. Because the stolen valor accusations are absolutely nonsense, baseless bullshit on the part of a desperate Trump campaign, on the part of a desperate Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. I'm going to play this clip for you. Yesterday, he answered some questions and he made some remarks about Tim Walz's service. And you know that you've got nothing left when this is what you do. And the timeline, which we'll get to, just doesn't back up what they're saying whatsoever. It is just lies. It is just subterfuge. It is just a distraction to give something to the MAGA base in an effort to try to stop the excitement and the momentum of what will eventually be a Kamala Harris presidency with Tim Walz as the vice president. Let's just play the moment if you haven't seen it, and then we'll break this down and talk about it with sources from the United States National Guard, and we'll clear it up.
You know what really bothers me about Tim Walz as a Marine who served his country in uniform? When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have to go. I also think it's dishonest. Something, again, if you guys ever get an opportunity to ask Tim Walz or Kamala Harris some questions, he made this interesting comment that the Kamala Harris campaign put out there, and I bet they're regretting they put it out there now, because he said that and he was making a point about gun control, he said we shouldn't allow weapons that I used in war to be on America's streets. Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. And if he wants to criticize me for getting an Ivy League education, I'm proud of the fact that my mamaw supported me, that I was able to make something of myself. I'd be ashamed if I was him and I lied about my military service like he did.
First of all, many of you know, many of you are probably first time here, I served in the United States Marine Corps for many years, much like J.D. Vance. Unlike J.D. Vance, I was not a public affairs person. I didn't write articles for the Military Times or for the unit. I wasn't with the Air Wing. Look, I'm not here to diminish J.D. Vance's service in the United States Marine Corps. We share this in common. We were both enlisted men in the United States Marine Corps. Corporal J.D. Vance, or Hamel, or whatever his name was at the time, I'm going to read from his Wikipedia page to give you an idea of this steely-eyed warrior facing down the enemy on the field of combat. That's not true. He didn't do that. But after graduating from Middletown High School in 2003, Middletown, you might want to know where that is. It's just north of Cincinnati, not in Appalachia, like he claims to be a proud son, native of Appalachia. He's not. He graduated high school in Middletown, Ohio. Vance enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, served in Iraq as a combat correspondent for 6 months in late 2005, and served a total of 4 years. He was a part of the public affairs section of the 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing, which is in Cherry Point, North Carolina, near where I was stationed in Victor units, deployable combat units, in Camp Lejeune is where I was. 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines, 2nd Tank Battalion, not the Air Wing. Not giving you shit if you're in the Air Wing. If you're a Marine, you get the rivalry. And said that his service taught me how to live like an adult, and that he was lucky to escape any real fighting, so no combat. His decorations included the Marine Corps Good Conduct Medal, the Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal. That was the Navy Achievement Medal when I was in. And I guess that's it. So he possesses fewer awards than me, and I'm not even highly decorated. Good on you. Good on you. So here I want to read from this CNN article just very briefly. There are 2 paragraphs here. Here's the title of the article. We're going to get to the timeline now of Tim Walz's service. Vance reopens line of attack into Walz's military record as 2 veterans now vie to be vice president. Walz retired from the Army National Guard in May 2005, according to the Minnesota National Guard. In a 2009 interview for the Library of Congress, Walz said he left the Guard to focus full-time on running for Congress, citing concerns about trying to serve at the same time as the Hatch Act, which limits political activities for federal employees. Service members often submit their paperwork for retirement months before their retirement date. It's unclear when Walz submitted his papers for retirement. Well, we don't need to know when he submitted his papers for retirement. I'm going to read from this article written by someone who did the same job as J.D. Vance, except for the Army National Guard, written by Sergeant Mary Flynn of the National Guard Bureau. This is, again, from the website of the National Guard. This is a government website. This is not some partisan hackery. The House of Representatives passed a concurrent resolution October 1st that commended soldiers from the 1st Brigade Combat Team, 34th Infantry Division, on completion of their record deployment to Iraq. The unit's 22-month deployment is the longest continuous deployment of any military unit during Operation Iraqi Freedom. The 34th Brigade Combat Team received alert orders in July 2005. Now, this is where you need to start paying attention. They received their alert orders on July of 2005. It should be known that Walz retired in May of 2005. He was already gone. He was already out before they received the orders. He didn't abandon his unit. We'll get to this. The 34th Brigade Combat Team received alert orders in July of 2005. They mobilized in September and trained throughout the fall before finally deploying in March of 2006, nearly a year after he had retired. A year. This wasn't unit abandonment. Originally set to return in February 2007, the unit was extended 4 months as part of the president's disastrous, that's my editorializing, the president's disastrous surge strategy. U.S. Congressman Tim Walz of Minnesota authored the resolution, along with United States Representatives McCollum, Ramstad, Ellison, all these other people. Senator Klobuchar sponsored concurrent resolution 185 in the Senate, where it passed in July. Congressman Walz has a personal history with the Red Bulls, that's the nickname of the unit, having retired in 2005 as Command Sergeant Major for the 125th Battalion of the 1st Brigade Combat Team. Quote from Tim Walz, "I served alongside these soldiers for many years. I could not be more proud of them. They endured their extended deployment with patience and determination, and their distinguished service record in Iraq speaks for itself. Today, every Minnesotan should be proud to call the Red Bulls our neighbors and friends." So here is the timeline. May 2005, Tim Walz retires from the National Guard. And he would have had to have submitted his paperwork at the very soonest weeks before his retirement, but more likely months before, because they need to find a replacement. They need to do the search to find the most suitable, effective leader to run that, to take over that billet, that job. So it's not like he once they get the orders, he can say, "Oh, never mind, take backs. I'm gonna continue," because they've already found someone, they've already slated someone, they've already got someone in the process of a change of command. In July of 2005, his unit receives alert orders for deployment, months after he retired. September of 2005, his unit goes to Camp Shelby to prepare, to train for this deployment. And then finally in March of 2006, they actually deploy. He retired in May of 2005. they officially deploy in March of 2006, the following year. This is a nothing story. This is but a distraction, and it's disrespectful to veterans. It's disrespectful to military people. And J.D. Vance, Eyeliner McGee, should know that better than maybe anybody in this race. Being a United States Marine, proudly earning the title and talking about his patriotism, which has really just devolved into fake-triotism. Gross, JD. Gross, Corporal Hamel, or whatever your name was when you served. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me as always daily at dollemore.com. Please consider supporting my work. You can help me make these videos for $2 a month. You can click the join button below, see what's involved in becoming a channel member. You can also go over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. And there, same deal, $2 a month. You can join the Patreon family, take part in some of the stuff we do there. That's not just for the podcast. That helps support here too. I love and appreciate you very much. I'm on social media at Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. And I will see you next time. Semper Fi, JD Vance. Be genuine. Take care of one another.